Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch up and at it early this morning here on December 18th. Take a look at the combination of Doppler radars and the infrared satellite imagery. Look at this powerful westerly surge swooping across some portions, mainly Seattle north, some lightning strikes associated. That is the westerly surge just ripping down across some of the Strait of Juan de Fuca and across Whidbey Island where they're exceeding gusts of 60 miles per hour. We got damaging winds elsewhere, 55 at SeaTac, 60 in portions at Tacoma, and an incredible gust up over 75 miles per hour for Hoquiam. And I checked one of the other weather stations out there as well, and it showed 83, so it kind of gives a bit of credibility to that. I'm getting reports of tree damage. I've seen power flashes out here at my house this morning as well. So quite the major windstorm sweeping through this morning. Now, this is where I selected that one here, and look at this, 83.9, 84 miles per hour on this Tempest station here. This is not official or anything, but again, it kind of gives credibility to the huge gust at Hoquiam last night and early through this morning. Now, if we take a look at things across the region, you can see that frontal system or the westerly surge here moving down across the area. This should mark the end of the strong southerly winds. Still gusting a bit here at my house, but that should be coming to an end as it starts to turn westerly. We're going to get some big westerly gusts down the east slopes of the Cascades and across in the Columbia Basin. We'll take a detailed look at that. You can see Hoquiam has now got a west wind at 51 degrees as we speak. Now, taking a look at Hoquiam, if I back this up, look at some of these insane gusts, 69 knots. It's 69 knots, I believe, is up towards 80 miles per hour. I'm not doing the math right now, or a little bit early in the morning, but nonetheless, there's some very intense gusts that were moving through right before midnight and just after midnight. And you can see it's been gusting fairly strong, though it has been tailing off. We are still getting 49 knot gusts as of, about 3:30 this morning. And looking at Seattle, again, this is just recently 48 knots. It's 55 miles per hour. The pressure has started to rise rapidly. So yeah, very intense storm system. Still the wind advisory up. That will be coming to an end as we go through the later morning hours. And we still have a winter weather advisory out there above 3,500 feet. This is wrapping up at about 10 a.m. You saw that precipitation will be cutting off from west to east as we go through this morning. Now, Spokane is also all over it here. This is for yesterday. And again, not much has changed. We're going to get some strong winds, and these are going to come. If you saw that westerly surge, it's moving across the mountains here shortly, and we'll be eventually picking up the wind speeds here for eastern Washington, eastern Oregon. You can see some Idaho. There's Kellogg gusting 45 plus, and Pullman 50. Some of these could be doing a bit of damage out there and even kicking up some blowing dust. Isolated tree damage, as you see. This is Pendleton, Oregon. Same thing here. Gusts of 45 to 55 are expected, and I wouldn't be surprised if some areas do overperform with some of these winds. Taking a look at the European. Now, this is what was run last night. You see it picked Seattle about 47. So it underdid a lot of these wind speeds here across the region. And Whidbey was up over 60 miles per hour. Same thing for Tacoma. So although it did have a fairly strong blow hitting us, it probably overdid it for the Willamette Valley and definitely underdid it here for portions of western Washington. If we take a look at the North American model, definitely did better, but still underdid some of this here. But still, this is not bad. I mean, 58 it's showing for portions of areas near Tacoma, and there's Seattle at 56. And if I scroll all the way through here, you can see some of the big gusts coming east as well. You could get 55 mile per hour gusts out there for eastern Washington. Some very intense winds here across the east slopes of the Cascades of Washington, Oregon with this westerly surge. And you can see that very potent wind that moved in last night and early this morning across the coastal regions. The HRRR did much worse, 42 miles per hour. This did not capture these powerful gusts for Tacoma and SeaTac, Whidbey Island. Yeah, I mean, it did a little bit better for the coastal areas, but not doing too hot there. If we take a look at the North American model, this is the frontal system as we went through very early this morning, and it shows that segment moving through. It didn't quite capture that too well, but at least it does show it. There were a few lightning strikes associated with that, but you can see how the models, you still have to have the human element, the forecast here, because this doesn't capture the full effect of this storm. Now, what happened here is that this is yesterday morning. Look at that low pressure center up here in British Columbia. Not a bad pressure gradient here as we've been watching the last few days. But now look at this as we uptrended here from yesterday morning to last night. And you can see the low much closer to western Washington, power pack pressure gradient to the south side of that. And that's why these winds are so strong. You can see the parent low up here towards Haida Gwaii. And same thing for the European. Again, this is yesterday morning on the right versus last night's run. And you can see that low much closer to western Washington and much more of a power-packed pressure gradient across some of the region. And McCord, and the European, didn't quite capture those 60 mile per hour gusts out there. I think that was Tacoma Narrows that got the 60 here. I'm not sure what McCord has. Their data was offline this morning. And you can see Seattle Metro. The NAM actually did really well with this. Although it did predict these wind speeds a little bit earlier here. We didn't get that until closer to about 5 a.m., that 55 mile per hour gust, but not too bad there. And here's the HER way off with those winds. A 44 mile per hour gust is nothing, is significantly weaker than a 55 mile per hour gust. Go ahead and do the pressure wind force there if you want. If you can Google that calculator and check it out, you'll see. Hoquiam as well. Again, they underdid these gusts to a fairly extreme margin here. 59 is nowhere near 79 or 80 miles per hour. And again, with the NAM there as well. Now, let's take a look at what is to come here, because there's a system right now. This is last night's GFS run. You can see the system moving through, and it wraps up this precipitation, some lingering showers across the Cascades here as we go through the day today, and then our next more gentle frontal system arrives as we go through Thursday night, and then another fairly gentle frontal system here as we go through Friday night, then a stronger storm here. You can see this one reaching out with a better pressure gradient as we go through the day Saturday, and no rest for the weary, just storm after storm moving in here. Another potent frontal system coming through on the day Sunday. Tiny bit of a break, but models are showing a very potent low. The GFS and both the European are showing a very deep low forming off the coastline. Look at this 951 monster right off the coast here. It may be far enough away to avoid impacts, but we really have to watch that. You know how these things have been trending here this year. We've gotten some pretty severe wind blasts. And then another potent frontal system after that for maybe Christmas night, and the day after. It just never seems to end. And look at this next system here just rolling in here as we go through the 28th. I mean, my goodness, how many storms was that? Somebody count it and leave it in the comments below. Looking at last night's European, there's our storm system currently, and you can see that will be wrapping up as we go through the morning hours and rapidly exiting to stage right. And we've got another gentle frontal. Call this a gentle frontal system here as we go through Thursday into Friday morning. Next one here as we go through Friday night. And then that stronger storm arrives here as we go through Saturday. That's a bit more of a bluster here for the Pacific Northwest. And then we've got additional storms. Let's see if it has the monster storm that GFS was showing. And as we scroll off in towards Monday, December 23rd, look at this. That's bad news. That's the development zone right there. Look at this thing. Just absolutely bomb out. Goes from 992 to 972 in 6 hours, and then to 964. So again, we'll check the track on that and see how close to the coastline that would be. That is a big boy right there. So we got to watch the track on that closely. A lot of these storms will end up staying offshore, especially when they rapidly deepen like this, and they tend to turn a bit more north. But yeah, we'll watch that one closely. That's off in towards Fantasyland here. That would be Christmas Eve morning right there. And then we scroll off into the future, and then look at this potent atmospheric river look to things here on Christmas Day. The European continues to show that with a powerful pressure gradient. Would bring some big winds to the coast there, and hopefully some mountain snows, and then additional just monster storms moving towards the region. So yeah, one after another. Somebody count these up and leave it in the comments below, and all the way on into the end of the year it continues. Now, if we take a look at the ensemble mean on the European model, I'm just going to scroll this out really quick because we're looking at about 15 days, and you can clearly see how the storm train and the storm track is pointed at the Pacific Northwest all the way from southern Alaska, southeast Alaska, all the way across western BC, Washington, Oregon, and northern California. Avalanche danger by zone. Let me update this here. We still have some considerable. The snow levels have risen quite a bit. And also, I wanted to check something out. Let me go all the way back here, and we're going to check out this winter storm warning because, let's see, Stevens Pass, Holden Village. Yeah, some additional snow accumulations, and there is that ice accumulation if there's still some of that cold air trapped at the surface. Freezing rain or rain will transition back to snow after 6 a.m. So that should be occurring here pretty quickly. So if you are getting some freezing rain trapped out there, some of the pass areas or some slightly east of the pass areas, that should be coming to an end as the surge starts to come through. Now let me go back to where I was. Here we go, Avalanche Center. This is a great forecast, a great tool here, that Northwest Avalanche Center. So check that out if you want. Now you can see we have built up some precipitation here. So we're starting to approach this red line. Once you get to the right of that, and you can see the axis on the left is the 3-day cumulative precipitation, 15-day cumulative precipitation is on the bottom axis here. So once you get to the right of that, you start to worry about some landslide activity across the Puget Sound. Now, let's take a look out across the Pacific Ocean here, and this is the European maximum individual wave height. put this into motion, and you can clearly see how the wave machine is very active as we go through the next week to 2 weeks, and just some monster waves rolling out there. How close will these storms get? What kind of wave action will this bring? Who knows right now, but you can see clearly a period of elevated waves as we go all the way on into the end of December. Do not turn your back on the ocean. Pretty much any day, it looks like, from now until the end of the year, you're probably going to have some pretty good wave watching up and down the coastline, with some certain timelines there with some pretty exceptional waves moving towards the coast. Of course, we'll be breaking that down on a day-by-day basis. And of course, this is the product of a long fetch, and you've got a lot of wind over a long time with some very powerful storms, some very strong storms out there. As you can see, this is just 10-meter sustained winds, and some of these storms are quite beastly out here across the Pacific Ocean. Look at that one out here, almost sustained at 90 knots out over the open ocean, and again, just generating some massive waves that will be approaching the Pacific Northwest from time to time as we go through the end of the year. Taking a look at the 200 millibar heights, about 39,000 feet. And again, we've been checking this out the last few days as well. Look at that jet extension just race across the Pacific Ocean, and watch it kind of reach out north of Hawaii there. And yeah, this is going to develop that very potent low pressure system there that's been showing up and on the GFS and the European. Looks like the 23rd or the 24th coming up. We'll continue to see how that trends right now. We're in the trend phase right now. This is not a slam dunk by any mean. It's still technically a fantasy forecast, even though the models are continuing to show it. 6 to 10 day. This was updated yesterday. This should be no surprise with what we're just watching. We got some warm Pacific air flooding much of the lower 48 as we go on through the Christmas period. Merry Torchmas to everybody out there. 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook. Clear. Big signal for above average precipitation chances there, and 8 to 14 as well. The entire lower 48 is above average as we go through the end of the year, and there's the 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook again above average. And they did update this yesterday as well. They have the slight risk heavy precipitation. That should be no surprise. Look at this. Maybe we'll get some snowfall for the higher terrain December 25th through the 31st. And of course, the wind threat exists as well. So anyway, I'll kick this out. You can see this has already moved and slid off in towards the foothills there. So if you're across some of the mountainous areas, watch out for that. It can bring, some interesting stuff, some lightning strikes and some very heavy rain and some snow for the higher terrain as well. But this wind should be cutting off quite dramatically here for a lot of the Puget Sound. It was so loud last night that it woke me up numerous times. A terrible night's sleep last night. My home's in kind of an exposed location, but yeah, it was not an easy sleep. But anyway, hope you guys are liking the videos. Click like and subscribe. We will do this all again here tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.